Welcome to the 8th video on the series of the language of research. In this video we are going to discuss about two types of data. Data in research normally falls under two broad categories: quantitative data and qualitative data. Typically data is called quantitative if it is in numerical form and qualitative if it is not. Here one should understand that numerical doesn't mean that any data which is expressed in terms of numbers is quantitative. One should also look out for application of suitability of mathematical operations like addition, subtraction, mathematical operations. So something which is where it still makes sense. You add quarter 1 profit of a company with quarter 2, all 4 quarters profit made in all 4 quarters, and what you arrive at the profit made by the company in the whole year. So it's quantitative, right? So it is suitable. You could add, subtract, right? Whereas qualitative data is not that, like, which is expressed in terms of numbers. Even if sometimes qualitative data, if you could find it in terms of numbers, still there doesn't make any sense in terms of applying mathematical operations to that. For example, PNR number of a passenger it is expressed in terms of numbers, but does it make any sense beyond identifying a person? So it just identify a passenger and nothing beyond that, right? So even if it is expressed in numbers, but still you cannot perform mathematical operations to that. Qualitative data is much more than just words or text. It is also very common notion about qualitative data, like it is the data which can be expressed in terms of words or text is known as qualitative data, but all your visuals, audio, photograph, sound recordings, these all things will fall under qualitative data. So as we could see that the scope of qualitative data is much more than especially the variety of qualitative data is much wider than your quantitative data. Quantitative data basically follows mathematical logic, right? So it is suitability for mathematical and statistical operations. But here you have to do some there are definitely tools to analyze different strokes for different folks, because the nature of data is different, the kind of data is different. You do not apply similar kind of tools for analyzing them. This has also been quite interesting that people there was a time when people used to debate upon which data is more suitable for into a research context, and yes, this distinction had some utility, but many people draw too hard a distinction which is not desirable at all. What I mean is, drawing too hard a distinction means subscribing to one of the sides. So one should not try to subscribe to one of the sides, like, okay, I want to do quantitative analysis. Let's try to see the people who support quantitative data in big way. They always quote this reason that quantitative data is hard, rigorous, credible and scientific, and that is why people should collect data which is of quantitative type and should carry out quantitative analysis. So what is meant by hard means that, yes, think about data. What is the default thing which you think when you say, let's say, data? The first thing that is come into your imagination would be numbers. So that is what is meant by hard. That can be expressed graphically or numerically. And in terms of big data, data which is generated from devices and applications such as phones, sensor, traffic monitoring system, computers, etc. This is hard data. right? So it is something which is so beautifully explained in terms of numbers. How many people are there, what is the amount of traffic which is going on, let's say on an online platform, how many people are posting their videos, right? How many likes, how many dislikes. So hard. So it's you could with certain objectivity, there is an objectivity to it, and it is rigorous as well. So rigorous means that there is a discipline. You could make meaningful comparisons. It is marked by preciseness, repeatability, right? Rigorous. There is some kind of structure to it. Rigorous means structure. It has got some structure, some ways of recording it, right? Your balance sheet has two sides, and your entries should following some principle, some accounting principle. So application of scientific methods, yes, you could use it. Quantitative data for huge amount of scientific methods are based, and applications of scientific methods involves dealing with quantitative data. And last but not the least, it is credible and scientific. You could test it, retest it, validate it. A number of people, if their processes are same, their tools are same, their ingredients are same, then definitely they are going to reach at the same result. Whereas you cannot say the same with qualitative data, right? So that is something which makes qualitative data, the analysis of qualitative data, much more challenging in comparison to quantitative data. The champions of qualitative data would always quote that qualitative data is superior because it is sensitive, nuanced, detailed, and contextual. When I say qualitative data is sensitive, so sorry, this would be qualitative. So qualitative data is sensitive. It means because it is about information about a person, one's identity. So human dignity always has a lot of place, and one should actually handle data with care. There are always risks involved, so due consideration should be given to potential consequences of the risk. So you are interviewing person, their identity is at stake, so understand the sensitivity involved. It is nuanced means it is characterized by subtle shades of meaning or expressions. So what is said is important, what is not said is also important, right? So you have to be very careful about the tone in which people are sharing the information, right? So what is the tone, what is said, what is not said. There would always be something which is explicit, which is expressed, and there would always be something which is unexpressed. So you have to be careful when you are dealing with the qualitative data, as qualitative data is having the shades of both, subtle shades, meaning or expression. So that's why it's nuanced, and it is detailed and contextual, because you collect more and more data. It comes into different varieties, different sources, and then it is largely context dependent. So what is said is important, but under what circumstances, under what timings, in presence of whom that thing is being said also matters. So that is why context is also a very important theme to be added, right? So maybe a student is saying, oh, I am very happy, but because of the teacher is standing in front of that student, so maybe that he is trying to not to just to make the environment like that, right? He is saying that, oh, I am very happy, and maybe he is not. So you have to actually look at the statements, his facial gestures, whether his statement and body language is complementing his statement or not, right? So is he saying it freely or under pressure? So those things are important. So that is why context is also important. So instead of wasting one's time that one data is superior over other. One should try to locate both these data are intimately related to each other, as all quantitative data is based upon certain qualitative judgment, and all qualitative data can be described and manipulated numerically. Let's try to see this. All quantitative data is based upon qualitative judgment. Let's say one has to talk about developing a self-esteem questionnaire. You, as a researcher, you want to understand what is self-esteem. So you are actually trying to define what is self-esteem. How is it different from let's say related concept like self-confidence and self-clarity. Okay, so all these things you have to first judge. So that is why it is said that a lot of qualitative judgment is involved. So self-esteem, maybe you could rate it in terms of high and low. Person having a lot of self-esteem, person lacking self-esteem, you could define. So it involves qualitative judgment on the part of the one who is actually constructing that questionnaire. Next, once you are trying to fill those forms, where to, again, qualitative judgment of the person who is there in field, trying to collect those responses will also come into play. You people who are, let's say, in their social settings, people are sitting with their friends, and then you go and ask them whether they are going to give honest answers about self-esteem or not. This is important. So you are also trying to see that which situation would be suitable for respondents to give responses on self-esteem scale. So again, this is also a kind of judgment only. And third, last but not the least, the person who is filling your questionnaire, he or she should understand it properly. So again, his qualitative judgment will come under play. He will try to interpret your questions in one way or the other. He may. So that is why again qualitative judgment. So understand qualitative, even you say quantitative data, but it is based upon qualitative judgment. Alright. Similarly, qualitative data can be converted into quantitative, and for that we have a very interesting scale which is called binary square similarity matrix. What you actually do, let's say you have 10 statements about something, right? You are carrying out, let's say you collected 10 statements about something, and then you try to see that which all of the 10 statements are closely related, or maybe are these 10 statements defining some 10 different concepts, or let's say you could further reduce the number of categories. On close observation, you find out that the statement 6, 2, 1 and 9 are similar in terms of covering a more underlying concept. So you put all these 4 under one category. Likewise, 5 and 8 represent another construct, 3 and 4 the third one, 10th and 7 uniquely 4th and 5th construct. So now what you have used a tool called binary square similarity matrix, in which you have 10 rows and 10 columns, and you have all the statements written like that. As you could see, all the similar ones. Why it is called binary? Because binary, it involves writing numbers 1 or 0. So for the similar concept, let's say 1 and 1, definitely it is mapping on itself, so it would be similar 1. But 1 mapping on 2, let's say 2 mapping on 1 or 1 mapping on 2, let's say again it is 1. So it means that 1 and 2 are more or less saying the same thing. So, but 1 is dissimilar with respect to 3, as you could see here, 0. So 3 mapping on 1 or 1 mapping on 3, you will get 0. So for all dissimilar concept, all zeros for dissimilar and all 1 for similar, or so some similar concept. So with the help of this number logic, you have converted these 10 categories into, you have reduced the number of statement of 10 categories to 5, and that is something which is very valuable. So these logics work wonderfully. So what we have discussed in this video is the difference between qualitative and quantitative data, the importance of qualitative judgment behind quantitative data, and binary square similarity matrix. Last but not the least, let's stop this video with this wonderful quote by Albert Einstein: "Not everything that can be counted counts, and not everything that counts can be counted." So this shows that one has to include both qualitative as well as quantitative data while moving forward in research journey. So thank you very much, and we'll keep posting more videos, and happy learning. Thank you.